Hi, it's Leslie at Leslie's Cookies and Treats, and today we're talking about craters. So this cookie is one of the houses in my Home for the Holidays full-length online cookie decorating class. And because of the many small areas, I did get some craters. So let's talk about those. So craters are areas where the icing has sunk in or where you have an air bubble that popped and left a hole. So to fix the craters, you're going to need some stiff royal icing. You're going to need a scribe or a toothpick. You're going to need a paintbrush, some water, and some food grade glycerin. I have a little stiff white royal icing in my palette, and now I'm going to add a drop of glycerin. And I'm going to take my paintbrush and get a big scoop of the stiff royal icing and put it right into that area that's cratered. You want a fairly large amount of the icing, bigger than you think that you would need to fill the hole. It's kind of like spackling nail holes in a wall. Put your royal icing in the area where the crater is and kind of tamp it down just like you would if you were spackling a wall. So my paintbrush was very slightly damp before I grabbed my scoop of icing, but all I'm really trying to do here is pack icing into the cratered area. So now I'm going to dip my paintbrush in the glycerin and start smoothing the icing out using my paintbrush covered with glycerin. I'm using the food grade glycerin instead of water to thin down the royal icing because water seems to do something to the royal icing where it starts to eat at it and you get, I don't know, a kind of a rough bumpy surface that's dull, it's not shiny, and it's not really super smooth. It has kind of a rough texture to it. So in order for this to work, you really need to cover the entire area where your crater was. So if you had a large area, like the blue hat, for example, you'd have to paint that entire area with the icing. Now, of course, you're not going to get a crater in a large area, so this works pretty good for small areas. But I imagine this would work if you stuck your finger in the icing and it dried that way as well. And you want to do this technique on completely dried royal icing. So now I'm just kind of smoothing out the royal icing, making it flat and level. Again, just like you would if you were spackling a wall. Now that I've added the glycerin, my icing has sunk down into the crater a little bit, so I decided to go ahead and add some more. And I'm going to just pack that area where the crater was again, and then I'll smooth it out. And you just want to keep filling and smoothing until you have a nice smooth area and your crater is no longer visible. Wash off your paintbrush, dry it off on a paper towel, and you can run it through the creases around the icing to clear up any icing that might have gotten on the other areas next to it. Hopefully you can see how full and puffy that is now, and you can't see the crater any longer. Now it's the same process to fill any air bubbles that pop. Just put a big amount of icing and push it down into the hole with your paintbrush and get your glycerin and smooth out the area. Wash off your paintbrush, wipe off all the excess water, and then go around the edges of where you just painted to clear out any excess frosting in the areas you didn't want covered. And I have one more crater over here that I'm going to fix, and then I think I'm going to leave the rest of it alone. So once more, pack your stiff royal icing into the cratered area. You can see I packed quite a bit of icing in that spot. And again, dip your paintbrush in the food grade glycerin and smooth the icing out. I guess you could think of this as sculpting your royal icing or like, again, spackling a hole in your wall. If you get any excess icing on your paintbrush, just wipe it off on your paper towel and continue to smooth. Dip your brush in the glycerin as you need to. And don't forget to clean up your edges and get your brush damp with some water to wipe off any icing that got on the adjacent areas. So I know this is a long video, but craters are something we all struggle with, and I wanted to show you how I deal with them when there's no choice to cover them up and you absolutely need that area fixed. So now I'll show you what I do when I notice a crater happening while the icing is still wet. I know it's kind of hard to see, but a crater is definitely forming right here in this little piece. So I went ahead and poked at it with my scribe to loosen the icing up and break the crust. And then I'm going to put my bag of icing right in the hole. And again, take my scribe and poke around until it all blends together and settles down. It's not a fast process. It takes quite a bit of time to smooth it all out because the icing has already started crusting over, but it can be done at this stage. And this is the way you want to do it if the icing is in an area where you can't just scrape it off and refill it in, which would be a much faster way to fix the area. So I'm just going to continue adding more icing and settling it out with my scribe until the area is filled and smooth and the crater is no longer there. And here's the finished cookie. It's not perfect, but the crater is gone. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped you. Please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. I have tutorials every week. Bye.